Things just got even tighter in the race for playoff places. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Another weekend of big results in the URC. Still got more than 8 teams involved in the race for those 8 playoff places. You could argue there are either 9 or 11. We'll talk about that later when we look at the table. But yeah, even at the top, things getting tighter. Throw a blanket over so many teams, and it's just one of the reasons why we love the URC. It just keeps getting better year after year. Right, so what we're going to do in this video, go down through the results from the weekend. Very briefly talk about each of the games, pretty much the results, not too much about the action, and then look at the table. So start with the Friday games. The first one, Edinburgh 31, Zebre 30. So Edinburgh squeaking by in this one, and they left it very late as well. But started well. They get over. Boyle scores within 5 minutes. Then Fusco responds for Zebre. Then Jesse actually puts them in the lead. But Edinburgh hit back. Patterson goes over from them. A few minutes before the break, then Ashman gets in for their 3rd try, and Montemaori scores a penalty for Zebre. So tight at the break into the second half then, and Trula goes in for Zebre. And looking for a response then from Edinburgh, and 20 minutes to go, Ashman gets in. Looks like they're beginning to take control of the game. But then 5 minutes to go, Sarah goes in for Zebre, and then Montemaori converts that, and he landed a penalty a few minutes before that as well. So now looks like it's actually Zebre, with a 6-point lead. As I said, only about 5 minutes left on the clock, potentially going for their only 3rd win of the URC season and a first win since the 2nd round. But Edinburgh do actually get in for that final try, Bone Venter going in the last minute of the game. That gets them back within a point of Zebre, and then Scott lands the conversion to win the game right at the death. So decent win for Edinburgh, but a very good away performance for Zebre there. So final score, Edinburgh 31, Zebre 30. Then the next Friday night game, so Ulster 21, Leinster 29. So there's a full review of this one on the channel, so if you want, go and check that out. And it's Leinster who really take the game by the scruff of the neck. They score 4 tries. First Culhan, Jimmy O'Brien, and Robbie Henshaw. Then Sam Prendergast gets in as well. Prendergast adds a penalty 2 in the first half, so they're leading 29 points to 0. And then Ulster, then 25 minutes to go, Bryn Ward goes in for a try, really barnstorming run from him for that try. Then Max Deegan goes to the bin, ends up being a 20-minute yellow card, and that was right on 60 minutes. So he's pretty much, he's obviously gone because it's a 20-minute red, so he can't come back on. But Leinster down to 14 for pretty much the whole rest of the game. Then Zach Ward gets a double. Ulster seem to have momentum, but after that 3rd try, they can't muster another one that would have made a kind of a squeaky end to the game for Leinster. So Ulster 21, Leinster 29, the final score there. Again, if you want more details of it, go and check out the full review on the channel. Next then, we have Dragons 7 and Vodacom Bulls 47. So, starting off, it was fairly even. You got Papier goes in for the Bulls on 11 minutes. Andre Pollard converts that. Then, who's it? Anisi goes in for Dragons, and Evans converts that. So we're all tied up. And then it's only just before the break that the Bulls retake the lead. Johan Grobler gets over for a try. So they got a 5-point lead in the break. But in the second half, then it's just all Bulls. We have Kotsia goes in just after the break. Then with about 20 minutes to go, Marco van Staden goes in. And then in the last 5 minutes, you just completely blow out the score. Van Staden in for a second. Devin Williams gets in 3 minutes to go. And then Peterson goes in the final minute. So, Bulls really putting a lot of gloss on the scoreline in those last kind of 5 or so minutes of the game. But by that point anyway, the result was kind of beyond doubt. They had their bonus point win already, with about 20 minutes to go. So, Dragons have seen better performances from them recently. Obviously, this wasn't one of them. And the Bulls are starting to get into that gear now to, put themselves in position to potentially take one of those playoff spots. Dragons 7, Bulls 47, the final score there. Those are Friday night games, so let's move on to Saturday. So early game on Saturday, DHL Stormers 24, Connacht 33. So Stormers, they've been resurgent recently. Basically started the season and unbeaten for so long, top of the league. They dropped down. And, recently, as I said, they've been resurgent, worked their way back up to second place in the league. And I honestly thought that they're going to win this one. Connacht now, I think they now won 6 on the bounce. And they'd won 5 on the bounce coming into this. So 6th win on the bounce to them. Very impressive. And, Stuart Lancaster has gone in there and he's given them what, we talked about so many times with Connacht. What they needed is consistency, and we're seeing consistent performances and results from them now. And it really has helped them to, get from basically, it looked like they weren't going to feature at all anywhere near the playoffs. Now they're just outside the playoffs, and you feel like if they can keep this momentum going, one of the other teams, because it's so bunched, one of the other teams will slip up and they'll be able to get themselves into that top 8. But yeah, really good run from them. Stormers, they got themselves, didn't even get themselves a losing bonus point or a try bonus point in this one. They had, tries from Roos in the first half. Then Makunu and Freiburg and Gamazulu with 20 minutes to go goes in for them. But Connacht, they got 5 tries. Hurley Langton, then Boyle, Devine, Ben Murphy, and then Sean Norton right to death gets them. So 10 minutes to go, I think Connacht got their bonus point try, and then they added another one right to death to deny the Stormers a losing bonus point as well. So very good performance from Connacht away from home. Personally, I didn't see it coming, even though they have been in really good form. I just thought, going out to South Africa, hard place to go. You're against a Stormers team who, look like they're trying to hunt down Glasgow. And I thought, given the fact that they knew, would have felt that, Glasgow coming down to South Africa, might have a hard time of it, and this really is their chance to get themselves into first spot. So I thought we would have seen a better performance from them, but fair play to Connacht. And that's why I'm wearing the Connacht shirt today in recognition of that as well. And I think that, Lancaster has done a fantastic job there. And, when he left Leinster, I really felt it was a real kind of loss to Irish rugby. And I'm so glad that we were able to get him back. Here, it feels like at the minute that, at three of our provinces, I would say we have very good coaches. I know some people don't like Neighbour Leinster. I'm not in that camp. I think he is a fantastic coach. I think he gets blamed for a lot of things that aren't maybe in his wheelhouse as well. But yeah, and then like with Munster, I feel like, it's we don't know yet with them. It's kind of similar to if you look at Murphy up at Ulster. It took him more than a season to start really for us to really start seeing the fruits of his labour up there. So we'll see what with Macmillan at Munster, what's going to happen there, because Munster keep churning through coaches. So that's kind of we'll have to wait and see with that. But certainly Lancaster at Connacht was a fantastic appointment, and whether or not they make the playoffs, you can see that there certainly has been improvement there, and we expect that to continue next season as well. So final score, DHL Stormers 24, Connacht 33. Next game then, let me find it here. There we go. Okay, so the Fidelity Secure Drive Lions, because all of the South African teams now have to have weird sponsor names. 54, Glasgow Warriors 12. So for me, and I think a lot of people would agree, Glasgow's worst performance of the season. Lions have been sensational when they played in South Africa, and if they could somehow get themselves into the top two, you could see them potentially getting to a final, because the contrast between the performance in South Africa and the performance outside of South Africa has been completely night and day this year. But fantastic from them. End up scoring, 8 tries. You got Van Vick going over early on, then Cronje, Van Vick again, Kutze, Venter, then Van den Berg, who was it then? Mahase, and Kewan Horn then right at the end. And it just felt like, there was times with the Lions where once they broke the line, it felt like, it was definitely going to be a score. And, Kewan Horn's try at the end as well, just slaloming his way through Glasgow defence. And Glasgow just weren't on it. They did make 9 changes for this game, but still some top players there, like, Daniel Lancaster at 10 is, he looks really good, as someone that can potentially kind of step up in there. We've seen him a few times this season playing very well. It's Stafford McDowell in the team. We had Dempsey was in there as well. Who else did you have? Step Stephen was starting at hooker, and you had Hiddleston on the bench. Ogunde Beju is an excellent prospect, I think, in the second row. And you had the likes of Hugh Jones was in there as well. I know he's kind of lost the starting position to McDowell, but McDowell was in there as well. Kyle Rowe, Josh Mackay. So it wasn't a weak Glasgow team. Certainly wasn't their strongest team, but still, you don't expect them to get beaten by that much. And it must be a worry for them, because I said, going down to South Africa that, if they could get maybe a point or two out of each of the games, they should, when they come back from South Africa, still be top of the table. They've got no points out of this one, and then they're playing the Stormers next week as well. So the Stormers, if they can win that one 5-0, then they're on the same points at the top table with Glasgow, and then it's shoot out for 2 rounds after that, which Glasgow certainly wouldn't have wanted to be in. Even 1 or 2 points of a lead could be the difference between them being number 1 seeds or potentially 2 or 3 at this stage, depending on what happens with Stormers and Leinster in the run-in as well. But yeah, Lions 54, Glasgow 12, the final score in that one. And we have, again, a full review on the channel if you want more details on it. Next one then, we have Scarlets 24, Cardiff Rugby 28. So another one where, you know, the winning team left it very late to actually get themselves the win. So, you know, but Cardiff start off well. You have Ben Thomas goes in after 10 minutes, but then Plumtree replies to the Scarlets, and you know, I think it was 7-5 to Cardiff at half time. Then we go into the second half, and it's Scarlets who take the lead. Johnny Williams gets in, and then pretty much straight from the kickoff, then Dane Blacker goes in to stretch their lead as well. And, you know, about 5 minutes later, Blair Murray is in for their bonus point. And at that point, you're thinking, well, Scarlets are going to run away with this. And it looked like that until 10 minutes to go. Price gets sent to the bin for Scarlets. Then Sebastian goes in for a try for Cardiff. Then 5 minutes later, we have Blair Murray in the bin as well. So Scarlets finishing the game with 13. Cam Winnett in for Cardiff. You know, back within touching distance. And right at the end, Sebastian gets a second try to seal the win. And then, you know, Sheedy converts it. You know, didn't completely affect the score, obviously, because they were 2 points ahead already at that stage, and we were in the red, so the game was over whether he got it or not. But still, you know, the fact that he converted 4 of his four tries, you know, the kicking from the tee, you know, I think Hawkins only converted 2 for Scarlets, so that was a bit of the difference between the teams at least. Scarlets 24, Cardiff 28. So Cardiff, you know, regathering a little bit of momentum because they were kind of falling down like a rock down the table. Next, then we have Benetton 15, Munster 45, and another one. We have a full review of it on the channel. So Munster, you know, also kind of a free fall in the table. So this is a big win for them. They end up scoring 7 tries to 2. And, you know, first half we have Calvin Nash, Tom Farrell, and Gavin Coombs all going in. Then into the second half, then doesn't take long for Klein to get over to get that bonus point. And then we have, who's it? Bernasconi in for Benetton. And then who's it? Kendall gets in for Munster. And then Garbisi, I think Benetton's other one was right to death, right? Garbisi got in there. But before that, we had Ty Byrne and Brian Gleeson all going in for Munster. And yeah, Garbisi right to death gets in for another Benetton try. But yeah, Benetton not really in it, and they look like a team who really have switched their focus to the next season on, you know, based on that performance. So Benetton 15, Munster 45, the final score there. And then on to the final game of the weekend, and that was Ospreys 21, Hollywoodbets Sharks 17. So these are the two teams that kind of have an outside chance, I would say, of making the playoffs. And, you know, Ospreys were behind the Sharks before this. I think they've just about leapfrogged them in the table. But yeah, competitive game overall. You know, you have Dan Edwards goes in early on. Boutelese responds for the Sharks. Then Jack Morgan gets in for Ospreys, and then Ethan Hooker goes in, clocking the red for half time. And Then Ospreys have a 2-point lead at that stage because Dan Edwards converted both of their tries, and Smith had only converted the Ethan Hooker try for the Sharks in the second half then, and Phillips gets in for Ospreys, extends the lead, and then Buthelezi in for the Sharks, not converted again this one, but brings them back within a bonus point, and then neither team was able to add scores after that. So Ospreys 21, Hollywoodbets Sharks 17, the final score there. So those are all the results. Let's have a look at the table. So Glasgow still at the top there. But yeah, they've got 55 points, but they still have the Stormers and Leinster now within 4 points of them. Stormers in second with 51, Leinster in third with 51, and the points difference, really, you look at it and you think Glasgow and Stormers fairly close in terms of points difference, like 150 to 130, but Leinster down with just 70-point difference. They're going to have to be a point above either of those teams to actually be able to overtake them on the table. And then fourth place, then we have the Lions on 48 points. So brilliant to see that from them, because they've never made the playoffs in the URC era, and hopefully they're going to do it in style this year. Finish as high up the table as they can. It'd be really kind of disheartening, I think, if they were the team that to miss out on the playoffs. But as I said, that South African form has been brilliant. They another win in South Africa, and it probably will be enough. And then I think they have 2 games in Europe that they might have to sweat on, might have to get like at least bonus points. But if they can discover some form in Europe late on in the regular season as well, and bring that momentum going into the playoffs, that could be a big boom for them. Fifth place then Ulster, so they slipped down after that loss to Leinster, so they'll certainly want to bounce back the next game, because it's so tight there that you're looking at a team that could be slipping from third place, potentially out of the playoff places within 2 rounds. That would be crazy if it did happen to them. Then sixth place is Munster on 46, just a point back. Cardiff, same number of points as seventh place. Eighth place then the Bulls on 45. So you look at that fourth place Lions down to the Bulls, just 3 points between them, and then Connacht then just 1 point back in ninth, the first team outside of the playoff places on 44. So even between ninth place and second place Stormers, just 7 points divide them. So again, really compacted there at the top of the table. And then we go down then to Ospreys in 10th on 34. So as I said, they've just about leapfrogged the Sharks, who are in 11th, also on 34. And looking at it, people would say that Ospreys and Sharks still have the potential to make the playoffs, because obviously still 15 points to play for in the last 3 rounds. So both of those teams could potentially get to a maximum of 49 points. So, and at the moment, the Bulls are on 45, and 49 points, means that anyone from the Lions down, they could potentially leapfrog if those teams had a disastrous run in the final 3 games. But I think that 8th place is just going to, the number of points needed to get there is just going to keep going up with the last couple of rounds. So for me, I'm ruling those 2 out of the playoffs. That's why I said earlier, you can argue whether it's 11 or 9 teams involved in the race to the 8. I think it's 9 teams. I think it's Connacht up where we have to focus on. It is possible. We saw Ospreys 2 seasons ago, given like a 3% chance or 2% chance to qualify. and they won their last 2 games with bonus points and got themselves into 8th place. So it's certainly possible for those teams to do that. I just don't see it though at the minute, because I think the Ospreys team that did that had momentum behind them. I don't feel like they do at the minute. And the Sharks, I think, are just too inconsistent as well to be able to produce the kind of run that they would need. Even if say, they were able to, get those 2 bonus point wins the way the Ospreys did in the last 2 games, that still leaves them only on 44 points. So you've got to put 3 bonus point wins together for me. And it means that 2 of the teams above you as well, like 2 of the teams in the top 9, have to have really disastrous run-ins as well. It basically means, Bulls can't win another game for them to potentially overtake them. And yeah, basically anyone from the Bulls up basically can't have another win, because they'll get above 49 points and make it mathematically impossible for them to catch that team at least. And then Connacht as well. Connacht can't get another win either, because points difference might still be enough to keep them above either Ospreys or Sharks. So yeah, I can't really see them doing that. Like, I can't see of those teams from the Lions down to Connacht that 2 of them are going to lose 3 games on the bounce, especially because some of these teams are playing each other as well. So it means that you've got to have a winner, right? Or if it's a draw, that's going to be even worse for them, because then 2 teams are getting 2 points each and just moving further away. So I think personally, I'm ruling them out. Then 12th place, then we have Edinburgh, who are, the first team who are mathematically can't get into the top 8, which is kind of sad for them, because they made the top 8 last year. They were in Champions League. They acquitted themselves, fairly well in that, getting to the round of 16. But now there's no Champions Cup for them next year. And very similar to Connacht, talked about before, plenty of talent, but just too inconsistent. Benetton then in 13th place. So, much poorer season this year than last year. Last year they finished 10th, but they basically had that game against Munster where the winner would make it into the playoffs, and Munster won the game. So they came very close in that one. And then obviously the season before, they beat Edinburgh in a very similar situations to qualify themselves, but they're down at 13th on 28 points. Then 14th is Scarlets on 23, and Scarlets kind of in a bit of a mini battle at the minute, themselves and the Dragons to not be the lowest finishing Welsh team. And obviously they'll be looking up, trying to catch Benetton and Edinburgh and finish as high as they can up the table. Then Dragons in 15th place on 21. As I said, kind of that mini battle with Scarlets. And, at the minute, they don't really have to worry too much about Zebre, because, as I said, Zebre haven't won since the second round. So it's unlikely that, Zebre there at 16th place are going to be able to close a 7-point gap in 3 games. So that's our table. We talked about the results already. We've got 3 games to go, and you look at that. You look at those teams in that top 9. Especially the ones kind of, again, in that kind of 4th to 9th place, where you probably would expect a team that isn't going to qualify to come from. And it's very hard to pick a team that doesn't deserve to be in it. It's going to be whoever it is that misses out. It's going to be a bit of a hard luck story for them, because you can make a case, I think, for every one of those teams deserving to be in that top 8, but unfortunately 9 into 8 doesn't go.